everyone. In this class we are going to learn the module 3 and this deals with the context free grammars, which is abbreviated as CFG. So in the module 2 we have studied regular grammars. So what was allowed on the left hand side of a regular grammar and what was allowed on the right hand side of a regular grammar. We have studied how to generate the regular grammars. Now in this module we will be concentrating only on the context free grammars. So context free grammars are more flexible compared to the regular grammars that we have studied in the second module. Also, the things that we are going to study in the module 3 are, so first of all we are going to learn the definition of the context free grammars. After that we are going to generate and learn how to form the grammar rules for the context free grammars for a given language, and also next we are going to see how to derive the strings from the designed grammars. After we learn the derivations, there are two types of derivations. So there is a leftmost derivation and rightmost derivation. So once we have learned the leftmost and the rightmost derivation, we are going to check whether the given grammar is ambiguous or not. So an ambiguous grammar is the one which generates the strings of different types. We are going to learn how to identify and eliminate the useless symbols in the grammar. So these are the things that we are going to learn in the module 3. So even before we understand the different concepts that I told so far, we will understand what is a context free grammar and what is allowed on the right hand side of the grammar and what is allowed on the left hand side of the grammar, so that we can produce proper grammatical rules. So to brush up the topics, we have seen what is a regular grammar. So in the regular grammar we had a rule saying that the LHS should always be a non-terminal and the RHS could have only three kinds of symbols. Okay, so they were epsilon, or it could be a single terminal, or it could be a single terminal followed by a non-terminal. So these were the things that were allowed on the left hand side and the right hand side of a grammar in a regular grammar. So now when we are concentrating on a CFG, so whenever a CFG is found, it is an abbreviation for the context free grammars. It is more flexible compared to the regular grammars, and the CFG allows a non-terminal on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we do not have any particular rule that says only certain symbols can appear. So that's why I am going to write here, it could be either the variable or it could be the terminal in any number on the RHS. So therefore it could either be a variable or it could be a terminal. So this could be read as an OR, and this may appear any number of times. So we know that from the concept of the clean star, when we place a star here, that also includes a epsilon on the right hand side. So it could be combinations of variables, terminals and epsilons arranged in any order and any number. So now that we know the idea of how a rule of a context free grammar looks like, so LHS should have a non-terminal and it has to be a single non-terminal, and the RHS is a combination of variables, terminals and epsilon. So I have a set of rules that I have written here. So these are a set of rules and these are another set of rules. So we will see which one of these is a valid context free grammar rules. Okay. So when we see here, you can see that there is a single non-terminal here, and this contains a combination, okay, a combination of variables as well as terminals. So if you remember from the previous classes, a variable is always represented by an uppercase alphabet and a terminal is always represented by a lowercase alphabet. So it is a combination of variable and a terminal. So capital S and A and B. So since V and T combination is allowed on the RHS, we may represent this as a valid CFG rule. Okay. So you can see there is a single epsilon here. So a star here means this entire thing could be an epsilon. So this is also valid. Then here again we have a single non-terminal that goes to a single non-terminal. This is also valid. And then this is a single non-terminal. Again there is a combination of variable and terminal any number of times. So there are more number of times of variables. So first time it's a choice of T, second time it's a choice of V, and the third and the fourth are the choice of T, and the fifth and the sixth are a choice of V. So this has repeated 6 times. There are 6 symbols. Each one of them is either a variable or a terminal. So therefore this is also valid. But when we look at the production rules that I have written here, so ST, so we can see here that it is not a single non-terminal that is present on the left hand side, rather there are 2 symbols. So therefore this is invalid. Next you can see that there is a non-terminal here, rather a single terminal here. So therefore this is not allowed because this has to be a non-terminal. Next you have an epsilon on the left hand side. This is also not possible because this place is reserved for the non-terminal, that is a single capital letter. So therefore these are some of the examples of the invalid rules. So these rules are nothing but the production rules, and these are examples of the valid rules for the CFG, that is the context free grammars. So we have already written some of the rules of the context free grammars. We know what are the different parts of the context free grammars. So we will try to formally define what is the context free grammar, that is a CFG. A grammar G, any grammar G, which is defined as a quadruple. Okay, so there are 4 parts here. So therefore we say quadruple, and the different things that comprise the CFG are V, sigma, R and S. So this V is the rule alphabet. So these rule alphabet are nothing but capital letters, and this is represented as a V. We know already what is sigma. So sigma is the symbols, is the alphabet, and this is usually the terminal symbols, and this is usually the non-terminal symbols. So non-terminal is the one for which we can substitute another thing, and the terminal is the one which appears in the string that we are going to derive from the grammar rules. So as I told, sigma is the alphabet. So it's a terminal. So these symbols are found in the string that we are going to derive from the given grammar. Then R is the set of rules. So when we say it is a set of rules, it is the set of the production rules that we are going to apply recursively to derive a string. And the last one, that is nothing but S. So S is the start symbol. S denotes the start symbol. So that is nothing but the very first symbol that we are going to use in the steps of the derivation. So this is the formal definition of a context free grammars. Next we are going to learn how to develop the production rules of the context free grammars given a problem state. Now we will look at few problems. So they have asked us to generate the context free grammars for certain statements, problem statements. First one is to obtain a CFG to generate any number of A's, and the sigma is given as A. So we have to generate the rules such that the grammar rules is going to produce any number of A's. So here we will take a start symbol first, okay, and then it has to generate any number of A's. So it has to generate recursively any number of A's. So therefore A is the symbol that it is going to generate, and recursively you should see that the second A has to be produced, the third A has to be produced, and so on. So the S is the one which is generating a single A. So therefore if I go on repeating to substitute for a S again, it is going to generate any number of A's. And at some point of time we have to obtain only the string of terminals, and the non-terminal should not be present. So therefore I am also going to add S goes to epsilon. So when we get the desired number of A's, we should be able to substitute this epsilon to S so that we can stop the derivation. So for the very first problem, we will also do the derivation and check if the desired number of A's can be produced by this grammar rules. So here suppose I require W is equal to, and there are 5 A's in the W. So we will see if I will be able to apply these rules to get the desired output. So first we start with S goes to. So the derivation steps will always include a double arrow mark, and then I start with AS. So S, I should see I have to produce another A. Therefore again we are going to use the same production, which is that S goes to AS, and we substitute S goes to AS. Next we will take another step. Again we know that the next symbol that we want after 2 A's is another A. So therefore we have to use the same production, that is nothing but S goes to AS. So AS. So again we need the fourth A. So for the fourth A we are going to use the same production again. So again S goes to, this S is again replaced with AS. So we have generated 4 A's. So the derivation does not stop here. So I am going to continue. So S goes to, so we require the last A in this position. So therefore S has to be replaced with a A. So therefore again we are going to use the same production, S goes to AS, and we are going to write here 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth A, and then S. Now whatever we require, that is 5 A's, are already present in the string. So we don't need any more symbols in place of this S. So at last we are going to use S goes to epsilon. So if I use S goes to epsilon, we will have 5 A's, and so in place of this S we have substituted an epsilon. We need not write that explicitly here. It is understood because epsilon is the identity of concatenation. So don't write epsilon here. So we are left with 5 A's. So likewise, if you need more number of A's or less number of A's, it should also be able to generate. Also, whenever we say any number, so this includes 0 number of A's also. So in case if I want 0 number of A's, then I am going to use in the derivation as the first step S goes to epsilon. So this will also give us 0 number of A's, and recursively apply the first step so that you get more number of A's. So likewise we will see the next problem. So the next problem is to generate string consisting of at least one A, and given that sigma is equal to A. So in this case we have to make sure that we do not have this, that is it should never be able to generate 0 number of A's, because it is given that there has to be at least one A. So therefore regarding the problem statement we will write the grammar rules. So S goes to AS. So we know that S goes to AS is always going to generate one and more number of A's from the previous problem. Also, it is given that the number of the A's is at least 1. So when we say there is at least one A, the minimum number of A's that will be there in the string is 1. So therefore, S goes to A. So 1A, more number of A's. So at least one A and more number of A's. So this is how we generate the rules of the grammar. So we look at the next problem. To generate strings consisting of any number of A's and B's. So when we say any number of A's and B's, a string W can either start with a or the W can start with a B, and it can have any symbols after that. So recursively, from the start symbol, we should be able to generate any number of A's and B's. When we say any number of A's and B's, so that means there could be 0 number of A's and B's also. So we have to keep that in mind. So how to generate any number of A's and B's? We already know how to generate any number of A's, right? So likewise, the same thing should be able to generate any number of B's. So these two are going to generate any number of A's and this is going to generate any number of B's. Likewise, we will say S goes to epsilon because that any number will also include 0 number of A's and B's. So if you apply the rules of the grammar, so we will see that the A's and B's will be generated in any order and in any number. So since we see that the same variable is going to the first rule, the same variable is used to define the second rule, and the same variable is also used to define the third rule. So therefore, this could also be written as S goes to AS or BS or epsilon. So the same variable S can be substituted for AS or BS or epsilon. So you can write the pipes in between each of the productions, and we may write the same grammar in a single line also. So this is how we generate any number of A's and B's in any number also, in any order. The next problem is generate string consisting of at least 2 A's. So here we have designed a grammar to generate at least one A. So here they have asked there are at least 2 A's. So the rule is going to remain the same. So this is going to generate any number of A's, and we know that the minimum number of A is 2 A's. So this rule is going to generate the minimum number of A's, that is 2 A's. And this rule, when you apply it recursively, is going to generate third, fourth, fifth and so on. So this is the set of rules that we are going to generate for a string that consists of at least 2 A's. We will look at the next problem. So the next problem is to generate string consisting of even number of A's. So we are dealing with the A's generation and it has to be even number. Sigma is equal to A. So in this case, we know that even number of A's repetition. So even number of A's repetition is 2. It could be epsilon also for 0, 2, and then 4 A's have to come, and then 6 A's have to come, and so on. So the repetition has to be in terms of 2 A's. So therefore we are going to write 2 A's here, and these 2 A's has to be repeated. So which is a variable that is generating 2 more A's? So that is nothing but the variable S. So therefore I am going to write S here. So this S is going to again generate 2 more A's. So that will result in 4 A's. The same S can also produce 6, 8 and so on, all the even number of A's. So when we say even number. So what is the least even number that we have taken? It is 0. So therefore S goes to epsilon. So once we have generated sufficient number of A's as per our requirement, we have to stop the derivation by applying this epsilon. In case the minimum number of A's that we require as an even number is 0, then we never apply this production at all, and we just go with the first step of the derivation as S goes to epsilon. That will give us 0 number of A's. So this is the two rules that we generate for a string consisting of even number of A's. Next problem statement is the string consisting of number of A's as multiple of 3. So when we take up W, the number of A's in that W mod 3 is equal to 0. So this is multiples of 2. So likewise we can imagine what is multiple of 3. So when we say multiple of 3, 3 A's have to be generated. So the same pattern has to be repeated once again. So this is the variable that is generating another 3 more A's. So therefore we write S here. Next, 0 mod 3 is also 0. Therefore S goes to epsilon. So we look at the next problem. Generate strings of A's and B's where the string length is a multiple of 3. So here there is no mention about what should be the symbol and its placement, but they have only given the length of the string is a multiple of 3. So I have to take up 3 places. So these 3 places can either have a or it can have a B, or it can have a B or an A, or it can have a B or a A. So there are 2 choices everywhere for the 3 positions. So likewise the same thing is going to repeat for the next 3 positions and so on. So therefore all the symbols here have to be repeated in terms of 3. So I am going to take up a variable called as A, I am going to take up another variable called as A and A. So this A can either be a B or it can be a A. So this A again can either be a B or it can be a A. So this A can either be a or be a B. So this is how we are going to generate. So S should be in terms of 3 because the string length is a multiple of 3. So the first symbol has a choice, therefore I can't write a terminal there, I am going to write a variable. The second position is also a choice between a or a B, so therefore I am going to write it as a variable. So the third symbol is also not defined to either a or a B, it can either be a or it can be a B, so therefore we write a variable. So these 3 positions have to be repeated once again in case the length of the string is 6. So therefore which is the variable that is generating 3 more of these symbols? So S is the variable that is generating, so therefore we are going to write it as S. So what about the positions which are A here? So this A can either be a A or it could be a B or it could just be a epsilon. Okay. Also the same S could also be an epsilon because 0 mod 3 is equal to 0. When we say 0 mod 3 is equal to 0, so at the beginning itself we should be able to generate this epsilon. Okay. So this is how we write the grammatical rule for the string length is a multiple of 3. So next is generate to generate a string with any number of A's and B's, but there has to be at least one A. So there is a different concept that we are going to learn here. So wherever possible, it is possible for us to draw the FSM first, a DFA, and from the DFA we can derive the rules of the grammar. So this we have also seen when we have defined the regular grammars also. So we'll see what we do here. So generate any number of A's and B's with at least one A. Can we define a FSM for this problem? We can define it. So we will have two states, and what is actually asked here is the FSM should be a set of A's and B's, but there has to be at least one A. So when there is at least one A, so this is the minimum string that has to be accepted by the FSM. So this we will name it as S, and this state we are going to name it as A. So always the start state will be named as S, and the rest of the states can be A, B, C, D and so on, depending upon how many states are there in the FSM. So what about the number of B's? So there is no restriction on what should be the very first symbol in the string. Therefore, the string can also start with a B. Next, after having at least one A, it can have any number of A's and B's. So this is how we write the DFSM for the given problem statement. Can we derive the set of rules from the FSM? Possible. Okay. So the rule is we have to first write the source symbol, that is S. Next, we are going to write the terminal symbol which are there on the transition, and then write the destination state. So S goes to B A, rather S goes to B S. So because S on B is going to the destination S itself. So therefore, starting at S, on reading B, we are reaching S. So this is how we write the production rule. So similarly, we'll see the second outgoing arrow on S. So this is S goes to, we have the symbol A. So therefore, we write A here. So from S, on reading A, we are going to capital A. So therefore, we write capital A here. Next, we'll see this transition. So A goes to, on A it is reaching A. So A goes to A. Next, again on B, from A we are reaching A itself. So A goes to B A. Next, we have this as the final state. Okay, so A is the final state. So wherever we have the final state, we add another production, A goes to epsilon. So whatever state is the final state, for that state we are going to add A goes to epsilon. So this is the set of grammatical rules that we can define for the given problem statement. So wherever it is possible for you to define a proper DFSM, so you can write the DFSM first and write the set of grammar rules. So similarly, this is the same problem, but here it is again the strings of A's and B's, but here at least one B has to be present. So at least one B has to be present. So therefore, how do we define the problem? So here instead of A, it's going to become B, and instead of this B, it is going to become A. So here we are making sure that at least one B is present. So similarly, if we go on writing the set of the rules for this, so we first write S goes to AS, S goes to BA, A goes to AA, A goes to AB, rather it is BA, and A goes to epsilon. So this is what we are going to do. So if we look at the grammar rules also here, so look at the grammar rule. So in case there has to be always one B, correct? So therefore, if we use the first production, A is getting generated, and from S B is getting generated. So we are making sure that there is at least one B in the string that we are going to generate. And further, A can produce any number of A's and B's. So recursively it can produce any number of A's, recursively it can produce any number of B's, or it could stop with a epsilon. So this is how we write the rules for the grammar for the problem 9. We'll look at the next set of problems. So we'll look at the 10th problem. Strings of A's and B's having the substring AB. So you can have any symbols A or B, but it should somewhere have a AB in between, and then here it can either have A or B. So this we write it as A or B. So this is the placeholder where it can have A's or B's, and this is also a placeholder where it can have A's or B's in any number, any order, but somewhere in between it should have the substring which is nothing but AB. So therefore we will take up a start symbol which is S. Okay. So we know that AB has to be produced by that S as a substring. What can come before this AB and after this AB? We must have any number of A's and B's and any number of A's and B's. So therefore we will write a variable in both the places because there is an option and not a particular symbol. So therefore this variable, that is nothing but the A, okay, can either be any number of A's. So this is recursively generating any number of A's, or it can be any number of B's. So it is generating many number of B's here, or it could just be a epsilon. So the minimum string that we may have from this is just the string AB. So we have designed the DFA also for this problem earlier. So the minimum string was identified as AB. So this is the set of the grammatical rules that we are going to generate for the grammar. So here in place of A, it can either be a or it can be a B. That too, it is recursive. So any number of A's or any number of B's in any order can be produced. Same thing happens with this A also. So once we are done with whatever number of A's and B's we require, we will stop the derivation with a epsilon. Also in the very first step, if we choose to put A as epsilon and A as epsilon, we get the minimum string, that is nothing but AB. So we will look at the next problem, the 11th problem. Generate strings of A's and B's starting with the string AB. So we have given the condition, it has to start with the string that is nothing but AB. So like we had a substring here, it's easy for us to now define the production rules. So S goes to, what should it start with? It should start with a particular symbol. So that particular symbol, first symbol is A and second symbol is B. So in the beginning itself, the first symbol has to be A and then it has to be B in the second symbol. What comes after that may be any number of A's and B's. So therefore we write a variable there because a particular symbol is not defined. So what can be substituted for this A? What can be generated in place of A? In place of A, any number of A's can be generated, any number of B's can be generated, or nothing can be generated at all. So the minimum string that we are going to get is just AB. Okay. So this is how we write the grammar rules for the given problem statement. Likewise, similar to the previous problem, we have strings of A's and B's ending with the string AB. So S can have anything in the beginning. So this anything cannot be defined. So therefore in the beginning I am going to make it as a variable that can be substituted for anything later on. Then we have AB, it has to end with a AB. So after this AB nothing has to come. Okay. So the last symbol has to be a B and last but one symbol has to be a A. So this is what is required. So what can be there in place of this A? In place of this A, I may generate any number of A's. So when I say any number, it is one or more in this production. Any number of B's recursively, and there could be nothing at all with epsilon. So as and when we have the required number of A's and B's, we can put epsilon in place of A and stop the derivation, or else we can use this epsilon in the beginning itself to get the minimum string, which is AB. Okay. So this is a solution for the given problem statement. Next, we have the problem statement L is equal to W such that the number of A's in W mod 2 is equal to 0. So the number of A's in W mod 2 is equal to 0, and the string is actually made up of A's and B's. So what is the minimum number of A? So 0 mod 2 equal to 0, 2 mod 2 equal to 0, 4 mod 2 equal to 0. So the minimum number of A's is 0, next is 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on. So once we know that we may have 0 number of A's in the string, so S goes to epsilon, because we do not know and there is no constraint which is defined on the number of B's. So it could be 0 also. So therefore we can have 0 number of A's and 0 number of B's. So if anything was added, such as there is at least one A and at least one B, some constraint which is defined on B, then we would consider it. So this is epsilon. So it is also possible that there are 0 number of A's and more number of B's. So in that case, this has to generate more number of B's. Okay. So 0 number of A's and more number of B's, or 0 number of A's, 0 number of B's. So what about the next thing that we are going to define? So once we have finished with 0 number of A's, we should have 2 A's. So that is the second largest number of A's that we have to generate. So what is this actually? So S goes to A and A. We also may have any number of B's in between these A's. So this A has to come, this A has to come, and we may have any number of B's in between these A's also. So therefore, which is the variable that is generating B's in between these two A's? So S is the variable that is actually generating any number of B's. Okay. So this is how we generate the rules for the grammar. If you want to write the regular expression for this, we may write this as RE is equal to B star A, B star A, B star, then we write this as whole star. So what happens here? Every time this entire expression repeats. First time this could be a 0, this could be a 1, 2 and so on. When it repeats 0 number of times, epsilon is produced. Once it repeats 1 time, 2 A's are produced. If it repeats 2 times, 4 A's are produced. If it repeats 3 times, 6 A's are produced and so on. So that is what we have represented as the rules of grammar. So next we look at the next problem statement. L goes to A to the power of n, B to the power of n is greater than or equal to 0. So we have A to the power of n, B to the power of n. So all A's have to come before all B's. So what we can see here, for every A there is a matching B. So that is what we see. So for the first A there has to be a matching B. So how do we write the statement? So A and B has to come. Okay. In between what can come? In between what are there? So there is another A and there is another B. So basically S is the one which is producing a and B. So likewise this part is also a S. Again if you see this A and B, so A, B, what is the variable that is generating? The same S. So this is also S. So we write a S here. Okay. So in this case what happens? So we have A goes to S goes to A and then S B. So again recursively for S what will be produced? The second A and the last but one B will be produced. Again for this if I want to substitute A and B. So what is it generating actually? Recursively 3 A's, 3 B's. Okay, so we will draw this as a triangle. So in case if I want to produce this S, we substitute A, B for S. Again in between I will have another S here. So therefore for this S I will put a AB. So what is it actually generating? It is generating 3 A's and it is generating 3 B's. So that is what we are going to generate from the entire. So this is what we are going to generate from the entire production. So therefore we write the rule. So A, S, B. It's generating A to the power of n, B to the power of n. Also there is a constraint on the n. So we have to observe that n greater than or equal to 0. So what is equal to 0 mean? So equal to 0 says that there could be A to the power of 0, B to the power of 0. So what is produced actually? Epsilon is produced. So therefore S goes to epsilon. So this is the rule that we are going to apply for generating A to the power of n, B to the power of n. We look at the next language which is given to us. Again this is A to the power of n, B to the power of n. N is greater than or equal to 1. So what is the minimum number of A's and B's that we have to get? So the minimum number of A's and B's is nothing but this AB, single A and single B, because the least number here is 1. Here the least number was 0, therefore we put a epsilon. So can we write the same rule again here? Possible, because it is the same problem statement. So A, S, B, this is going to generate A to the power of n and B to the power of n. So at some point of time S has to be substituted for a epsilon. Here in this case it is not possible, because the minimum number of symbols has to be 2 symbols, that is one A and one B. So therefore the minimum string here is AB. Okay. So we may generate more number of A's and more number of B's, and we have to generate a single AB also for n is equal to 1. So we will derive this and see. So S goes to ASB, S goes to A. For this S again I am going to use the production, S goes to ASB. So A, this S is substituted for ASB, this B will remain as it is. Next S goes to, for this S I am going to substitute AB, S goes to AB. So therefore this is S goes to AA, AB, B, B. So this is the string that I have got. So what is this string actually? A to the power of 3, B to the power of 3. Okay. So here I require now A to the power of 1, B to the power of 1, A to the power of 1, B to. So which is the production rule that I am going to use in the derivation? S goes to AB. So here A to the power of 1, B to the power of 1. So we have seen 2 derivations. So this is the derivation for 1 or more. Rather we will call this as 2 or more, and then this is the derivation for 1. So this is for 2 the power of 1, n is equal to 1. This is for n greater than or equal to 2. This is n equal to 1. So these are the derivations that we can do for the rules of the grammar.